This is my first stop, officially. We're not talking about the balls, or we're not talking about even the speeches, although they did treat me nicely on that speech yesterday. I always call them the dishonest media, but they treated me nicely. But I want to say that there is nobody that feels stronger about the intelligence community and the CIA than Donald Trump. There is nobody.
She'll find us here. We have it all day, isn't it?
No legs on me.
But we're going to do great things. We're going to do great things. We've been fighting these wars for longer than any wars we've ever fought. We have not used the real abilities that we have. We've been restrained. We have to get rid of ISIS. We have to get rid of ISIS. We have no choice. Radical Islamic terrorism, and I said it yesterday, has to be eradicated just off the face of the earth. This is evil. This is evil. I wasn't a fan of Iraq. I didn't want to go into Iraq. But I will tell you, when we were in, we got out wrong. And I always said, in addition to that, keep the oil. Now, I said it for economic reasons. But if you think about it, Mike, if we kept the oil, you probably wouldn't have ISIS because that's where they made their money in the first place. So we should have kept the oil. But, okay. Maybe you'll have another chance. But the fact is, you should have kept the oil.
We're gonna march on right today, right here, by Hilo Day, right here, by Hilo Day, right here, by Hilo Day. We're gonna march on right today, right here, by Hilo Day, and we ain't gonna study war no more.
They sort of made it sound like I had a feud with the intelligence community. And I just want to let you know, the reason you're number one stop, it is exactly the opposite. Exactly. And they understand that too. It looked, honestly, it looked like 1.5 million people. Whatever it was, it was. But it went all the way back to the Washington Monument. And I turn on, and by mistake, I get this network. And it showed an empty field. And it said we drew 250,000 people. Now, that's not bad, but it's a lie. We had 250,000 people literally around, in the little bowl that we constructed. That was 250,000 people. The rest of the, 20-block area all the way back to the Washington Monument was packed. So we caught them, and we caught them in a beauty. And I think they're going to pay a big price. But this is how dishonest the media is.
We're gonna march for women's rights today, right here by Hilo Bay. We ain't gonna study war no more. What are we not gonna study? Not gonna study war no more. We ain't gonna study war no more. We ain't gonna study.
I love you. I respect you. There's nobody I respect more. You're going to do a fantastic job. And we're going to start winning again, and you're going to be leading the charge. So thank you all very much. Thank you, beautiful. Thank you all very much. Have a good time. I'll be back. I'll be back. Thank
you. Aloha, and thank you all for being here.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until it comes. That which touches me most is that I've had a chance to work with people, passing on to others that which has been passed on to me. We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We who believe
million women and men marched on Washington in the wintry DC weather.
There is harmony in the home.
In our little town of rainy Hilo, we are making history as well. Thank you for joining our movement.
In a nation where there is
The mission of the Women's March on Washington is to bring people of all genders and backgrounds together to take a stand for social justice and human rights issues that deeply impact all of us. We stand together in solidarity with our partners and children for the protection of our rights, our safety, our health, and our families, recognizing that vibrant, diverse communities are the strength of our country.
where there is honor in a nation. There is
We believe that women's rights are human rights, regardless of a woman's race, ethnicity, religion, immigration status, sexual identity, gender expression, economic status, age, or disability.
Okay, everyone, let's safely assemble. We'll be crossing the street towards the farmer's market. Let us march.
This movement is bound together by a set of unity principles, which include reproductive rights and freedoms, LGBTQIA rights, workers' rights, civil rights, disability rights, immigrant rights, environmental justice, and ending violence. We will not rest until all women have parity and equity in all levels of society. We will work peacefully while recognizing that there is no true peace without justice and equity for all. And we ask that all defenders of human rights to join us. In the spirit of democracy and honoring champions of human rights, dignity, and justice who have come before us, we join together to show our presence in numbers too great to ignore. We stand together and recognize that defending the most marginalized among us is defending all of us. Our event today is not an anti-Trump protest. It is a statement of our shared humanity and the fundamental rights that spring from it. We're reminded by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. that we must stand against injustice and wrongdoing, not against one person. Our march is a non-violent movement of solidarity. The entire Women's March movement began right here in Hawaii with Teresa Shook of Hana Maui, whom we recognize as today's fire starter of today's events. Teresa ignited the Women's March movement by a Facebook post the morning after the election. She was inspired by the election's outcome to march on Washington. She went to bed that night and 40 people had said that they wanted to participate. By the next morning, more than 10,000 people had signed up and a worldwide movement was spurred. This march is a diverse, women-led movement. There are over 600 sister marches happening today, which are taking place in all 50 states and in over 60 countries around the world. This includes 5 in Hawaii, 1 on Oahu, Maui, Kauai, and 2 here on Hawaii Island in Kona and in Hilo. Although this is a global movement, all sister marches have been independently organized. The Hilo Women's March was organized by 5 women from different backgrounds that have come together for a common cause. Unbeknownst to many, we are unpaid volunteers who were strangers to each other just 3 months ago. So please join me in thanking Tara Prawn, Kat Killam, Samantha Black, and Alexandra El Sisto for organizing today's event.
So he is not all bad, okay? He's gonna become a vegetarian. He's gonna you make America a vegetarian nation. You go down in history as greatest president ever, okay? There's got to go.
Control their tails and feet. Why don't you tell it in its move?
He's my homie.
Hey, move back.
I have lots of three-point children. I don't want them to be aborted. I have three-point love.
Randy, you didn't bring your saxophone.
Females, school flavor run.
It's in the shop. This has been a great day. For both of us.
You make this industry world.
We love them. Pro-lifers love jazz, just like me.
Find us who you are, first of all.
My name is Dave DeClean. I head up the pro-life movement in East Hawaii. The GOPE, that we call it, was against Trump and was a globalist movement. Actually, they were in bed with the left, more or less, with the Clintons and that. So we're America first. So you saw a split in both parties, really, and certainly the Republican Party. Now, Trump, of course, got the nomination and became the Republican president, for the Republican Party, but not as a traditional Republican. The National Review and Murdoch and the establishment very much opposed Trump because he is anti-globalism, and those are all globalist interests. Those of us who are following the rallies and seeing the numbers of the people who were unhappy with where the country was at, with the joblessness rate, the rate of welfare growing under Obama, all of those numbers told us it was a change election. It was not a surprise to us that Trump won right through the Midwest like he did. It was only a surprise to the mainstream media, who still doesn't get it. It's kind of interesting in post-production. I guess as a pro-lifer, I've always envisioned that all of people who stand for pro-life would be out like this. And in my 20 years of trying to organize, I've never had a rally like this. I understand that this is how Hawaii is. Hawaii is a blue state, leftist. But actually, in talking to some of the people here, I think there's more grounds that we agree on than a lot of them realize. Especially bringing the jobs back is number one. And also the no wars that goes with the America First agenda, which kind of goes back to Pat Buchanan espoused that in the 80s. But I find in my conversations here with people that they also don't want the global wars, and they want jobs to come back. Here in Hilo, which has grown tremendously in size, you can tell by the traffic, there's no more jobs here. So those are things that we can agree on. The life thing, no, there's really no agreement on that. It's either you murder the baby or you protect the baby. So that issue, that will always remain a wall between us. But some of these other issues that bring people here, I think there is room.
So we are fortunate enough today to have the support of our local police officers. Thank them for their support. They are going to be, when we do the march, they're going to be at a couple of the crosswalks helping us cross safely. However, as we know, the police cannot be affiliated with any political party. So if you have any anti or hateful signs, they're welcome to be here in the bandstand, but we can't have them on the march with us, or the police are going to withdraw their support. So we thank you for that. Okay. The other thing is that we have these porta potties over here. Okay. We have the porta potties over here, and they're wheelchair accessible, so they're there.
I'm motivated by how much work is needed to be done, needed to educate, to speak out, and fight, to eliminate racism and empower women, to call out bias. I march because together we can fight for rights, not just for women, but for people with disabilities, LGBTQIA people, people of color, people who are not Christian, people who are poor, people who were not born here. their rights are threatened, mine are not safe either. And that is worth fighting for. No movement for equal rights happened just because the oppressed fought and talked amongst themselves. They had allies in the group of those who oppressed. Civil rights in the South involved white allies standing up and saying that discrimination wouldn't be tolerated as well. Women gained the right to vote with the help of male allies. We need to consider the rights and privileges we have and reach out to those allies.
Well, I think like most of us who followed the election closely and supported Trump, we're elated. Probably in the same way that Obama supporters were 4 years ago and 8 years ago. We feel like we have a chance, like the country has a chance to kind of resurrect itself from the trajectory downward in some key areas. So I feel very, very positive. And I think given time, a lot of other people are going to feel positive too once they see that some of these things take effect. Now, politicians talk, and Trump is now a politician, so he has to deliver on some of these things. But I and all of us at that inauguration, those in favor, are uplifted the way we haven't been for years and years.
Because I am advocating today despite all of those voices. I would love to stand here and be cheerful and happy, but let's not kid ourselves. We're here today because we know we're in serious danger. The progress America has made in the last 50 years is in danger. The progress for racial equality, for human rights is in danger. And a president who stokes fear against those of different color, birthplace, or religion. The progress we women have made is in danger with a president who actually brags of sexually assaulting women. Woo.
And it is with that thought today that I would like to share with you my theme and mana'o for today, and that is the importance and the significance of simply being present and sharing your voice, because it is important. In this time of environmental change, we are constantly faced with political, environmental, and social issues that require our presence, that require our voice, and that is significant. Mahalo. Mahalo.
The first woman to ever speak in front of Congress, Stacey Canton, spoke about women's suffrage and equality. On this day, women in Hilo, throughout the United States and across the world, are showing up to remind our president of that message. Our Declaration of Independence speaks of our equality. It speaks of fairness. It speaks of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And today is the start of us never letting him forget that.
Hi, I'm Chris Todd, and I just got appointed to the House of Representatives. I would have been here regardless, so it's one of the reasons I got involved in the process and put my name for it is because Trump got elected. So, I was trying to look for a way to just be supportive, and came down here with my wife and my family to support the cause, and do whatever we can, I guess, to kind of show resistance and show that people are united, and hopefully we can continue some of this momentum going into the next election cycle and try to bring more progressive change and kind of overturn this big national disaster as much as possible. My mom, who's been here her whole life and was part of Vietnam protests and all sorts of political movements, she says this is the most people she's ever seen at a rally in Hilo, at least in her memory. So and I trust her in that. It definitely feels like even at the state level, you're starting to see a lot of progressive action. A lot of the bills that are coming across my desk to co-introduce or to sign on, they're very progressive. So whether that translates directly into action this time around, I guess we're about to find out. But a lot of what we're trying to do is try to safeguard Hawaii against the loss of federal funding, and also to try and kind of be ahead of the curve and anticipate some of the social changes that are coming, and see if we can do what we can locally to promote a progressive agenda that's in spirit with this.
Right here on Hilo Bay, and he ain't gonna study war no more. We're on the march for women's rights today. Right here on Hilo Bay. Right here on Hilo Bay. Right here on Hilo Bay.
Good evening. Thank you guys for coming. I know our first official press briefing is going to be on Monday, but I wanted to give you a few updates on the president's activities. But before I get to the news of the day, I think I'd like to discuss a little bit of the coverage of the past 24 hours. Yesterday, at a time when our nation and the world was watching the peaceful transition of power, and as the president said, the transition and the balance of power from Washington to the citizens of the United States, some members of the media were engaged in deliberately false reporting. For all the talk about the proper use of Twitter, two instances yesterday stand out. One was a particularly egregious example in which a reporter falsely tweeted out that the bust of Martin Luther King Jr. had been removed from the Oval Office. After it was pointed out that this was just plain wrong, the reporter casually reported and tweeted out and tried to claim that a Secret Service agent must have just been standing in front of it. This was irresponsible and reckless. Secondly, photographs of the inaugural proceedings were intentionally framed in a way, in one particular tweet, to minimize the enormous support that had gathered on the National Mall. This was the first time in our nation's history that floor coverings have been used to protect the grass in the mall. That had the effect of highlighting any areas where people were not standing, while in years past, the grass eliminated this visual. This was also the first time that fencing and magnetometers went as far back on the wall, preventing hundreds of thousands of people from being able to access the mall as quickly as they had in inaugurations past. Inaccurate numbers involving crowd size were also tweeted. No one had numbers because the National Park Service, which controls the National Mall, does not put any out. By the way, this applies to any attempts to try to count the number of protesters today in the same fashion. We do know a few things, so let's go through the facts. We know that from the platform where the president was sworn in to 4th Street holds about 250,000 people. From 4th Street to the media tent is about another 220,000. And from the media tent to the Washington Monument, another 200,000.
Come on, love, Papa. Is that Chelsea and Austin from Facebook? Love Heart? Oh, baby. Ladies, this was awesome. Was this meant to be? It was.
My name is Tonya Lee Coulter. I'm a co-organizer of the Rally for Common Ground. The day after the election, I was chaperoning my son's, a field trip for my son at school, and a little girl looked at me who was 9, and she said, "Auntie, how did this happen?" And in that moment, I knew that I had a tremendous responsibility, especially for this little girl, and for all little girls, and for anyone who's vulnerable. That in this time that feels very uncertain for many, that we would come together with all the positive work that's being done in our communities and stand together and say that we will hold each other and we will work together on our common ground. We won't all agree on exactly what it is that is the work to be done, but where we do, there will work. I'm really hoping for cross-pollination between the different organizations. There's so many leaders here doing beautiful work. They're doing the work that they love. And I feel like when someone does the work that they truly love, they are really able to bring it in the most meaningful way to the community.
I came today because I have a lot of hopes for the future and a lot of fears for the future. And what I want is to protect our basic human rights and protect the rights of people who can't speak for themselves, and that includes Mother Earth.
I came because I was so frightened of our future, and I am just so pleased to find so many people that feel the same that I do. It encourages me.
Well, the purpose is to let people know that we're very, very concerned about all of the negative rhetoric during the campaign and some of the appointments that are being proposed that are not good for women's reproductive rights or immigration, for families, safety, many issues.
My name is Maya Parrish. I am the Rally for Common Ground co-organizer along with Tonya Coulter. And the Rally for Common Ground is the event that we're doing today. This is our launch event welcoming the Kona Women's March, all of the participants here at the Edible. And Rally for Common Ground is also an organization. It's a budding organization. We're just starting it. And it's all about building coalitions here amongst all of the local organizations that are doing amazing grassroots advocacy work on behalf of stewardship, on behalf of justice, and on behalf of resilience in our communities. So our idea is that we're building a platform, we're holding space and creating space for that conversation to continue between these local organizations so we can start to cross-pollinate, to turn up the volume, to increase the reach, and increase the impact of the already amazing work that's happening here on island.
The staff will then have an ethics briefing and be a briefing on the proper use and handling of classified information. Further updates as far as what he will do. Oh, and then in the evening he will have a reception for law enforcement and first responders that helped support the inauguration. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I will see you on Monday.
Bigger than Trump's inaugural?